Jujutsu Kaisen is home to some of the best choreographed and intense fights in recent memory. Both the anime and the manga do a great job of depicting the ferocity in which these characters attack, and the methodical approach they take when it comes to analyzing their opponents. But one thing I find that goes a bit under the radar when it comes to JJK's fight appreciation is how many genuinely funny moments exist within the context of certain battles. Even when seemingly unintentional, the characters in the series have a way of making moments that should be extremely serious and dire feel like a bit of a joke. So in this video, I'll be taking a look at some of these moments in fight and simply discussing some of the funniest fights in Jujutsu Kaisen. To start this list off properly, I'd like to take a look at the very short-lived fight that took place between Yuji and Sukuna within his innate domain. This scuffle takes place in chapter 11 in the manga, and I just gotta say that Yuji's cocky attitude when facing Sukuna makes this fight so hilarious. Like, Yuji really pulls up on Sukuna, fucking Sukuna, and thinks he's hot shit. He throws some random animal skull at him and just dashes towards him, shouting that he should grit his teeth. Now, this is already funny to me because Yuji should know just how outclassed he is, considering that the entire reason he died in the first place, the whole reason that he's in this position, is because he called on Sukuna to beat an opponent that he couldn't. The fact that Yuji just conveniently disregards that entirely and wholeheartedly believes that he's gonna beat Sukuna's ass is a weird mixture of super cool and hilariously idiotic. Sukuna is obviously unfazed by this because, I mean, it's Yuji, and just brushes him off with the calmest of demeanors. He then just kicks him, plops down on my boy, and starts lecturing him about binding vows and how he can be revived, whatever. That's the serious stuff. The funniest thing about this encounter to me is Sukuna's challenge to Yuji, a fight to the death. If Sukuna wins, Yuji takes on the conditions and comes back. If Yuji wins, he gets revived with no conditions. Yuji accepts, and before he can even spout more bullshit about how he's gonna win, Sukuna uses a technique and just cuts his face in half. Like, bro, when I tell you that this moment puts a smile on my face every time I read this, I am so fucking serious. Like, who does this nigga Yuji think he is? What did he accomplish to make him think he was like that? His track record in fights up to this point without Sukuna's interference is like 1-3. He has a losing record. He loses more fights than he wins. He literally lost his arm against a cursed spirit that had just a fraction of Sukuna's strength, realized he was weak, and started crying about how weak he was. Then he pulls up on the King of Curses like he's that guy, like he's him. Yuji in this fight is so unserious, and the fact that he decides that he wants to puff out his chest against Ryomen Sukuna has made this fight become one of my most cherished Yuji and Sukuna interactions. It's so in character for both of them to act this way, and the fact that Yuji gets beat so quickly right after acting all arrogant just makes this scene too funny. Continuing the trend of one-sided ass kickings, it's time to talk about a fight that everyone knew would be in this video. Gojo versus Jogo. Now, the way Gojo just humiliates and humbles Jogo throughout this fight it's just hilarious. Now, it's a bit sad when you look at it from Jogo's perspective, but it's still funny in the grand scheme of things. Because Jogo really heard Geto say that Gojo is way out of his league. He heard him say that this character is so powerful that the only way he can be beat is by sealing him. He heard that Gojo was essentially that guy. And all Jogo could say in response is, he may be too strong for you, but I'm built different. No fear, no hesitation, not even an ounce of doubt crept into Jogo's mind as he pulled up on the strongest sorcerer alive. Absolutely fucking insane. This would be badass if the events that followed went in his favor, but they clearly don't. Anyways, Jogo pulls up on Gojo all casual, right? Ready to get rid of this person who he thinks is just getting hyped up by some random human, and he pulls out all of his trick. He sends fire, loud noises, a bunch of fucking bugs, and then he just tries good old-fashioned hands. None of these work on Gojo. Jogo, rightfully confused about why none of his attacks even hit Gojo, asks what the fuck is going on, and Gojo just takes this opportunity to go on his old spiel about the infinity, imaginary concepts, the infinity, the hair, imaginary concepts, the stacking the hair, the fact that he can't get no bitches, and blah.
What the fuck is he talking about? Wait a second, why is he holding my hand?
Then Jogo just gets hit in the stomach by this sassy ass sorcerer, and he just keeps getting hit over and over and over. At this point, I'm laughing while we're rewatching the fight, right? But in the very back of my mind, I feel bad for Jogo. Like, this don't even feel like a one-sided fight at this point. It looks like CCT footage of a goddamn hate crime. He gets hit, Boom, 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 a right hook here, a punch to the stomach, just over and over and over. He gets hit with a kick, red, another kick, and then he opens his domain expansion, right? If you can't hit him outside of a domain, bring him into the domain, that won't miss, right? He then gets called weak and gets bombarded with so much information from Gojo's domain that he just can't move. And the icing on this disrespect cake is the fact that Gojo palms his dome, rips his head off, and then steps on it. At this point, the fight is over, and I just can't help but laugh at Jogo's hubris going into the fight with the strongest guy alive. What also adds to the comedy of the scene is just how unserious of an opponent Gojo is right now. Like, just looking at him without any of the context of the story, he's some 6'3" lanky guy who cracks jokes and holds hands. If I were in Jogo's position, I would underestimate him too. He just don't look that strong. That is until his fist comes into contact with your face 10,000 times. Then, yeah, then maybe he seems a little bit strong. Anyways, this fight acts as a very, very sad precedent for Jogo getting put up against some of the strongest characters in the verse. And while I tip my hat for the effort on his part, that hat tipping will always be followed by a very, very nice laugh. The next fight hurts simply because I'm a huge Megami fan, but Todo versus Megami has to be one of the funniest things I've ever seen in JJK. The premise of why these two characters come to blows is so stupid and emblematic of their character types. So Todo and Mai walk up on Nobara and Megami, and Todo asks Megami's type, trying to find out what type of person he is. And Megami, deciding that it would be better to avoid fighting with Nobara, gives a genuine answer. Now, is his answer a bit too perfect? Sure. Like, I personally would have said that I wanted a 7-foot Amazon goddess to step on my— Wait, how the fuck did this get in my— Todo finds Megami's answer so bad, so boring, that he decides he has to hit him with a lariat powerful enough to send Megami flying to the building that they were currently in. And literally, for no other reason than just not liking Megami's vibe, Todo proceeds to beat the ever-living shit out of Megami, powerbombing him, ramming him through buildings, palming his skull like a basketball, all kinds of different disrespectful shit. At this point, I'm already in tears laughing at the absurdity of what started this fight, but Megami takes it a step further with the comedy and tells Todo that he's about to show him some real shit before Panda and Unimaki interfere. Now, I personally don't think he was about to summon Mahoraga. I know a lot of people do, but I think it would be wildly out of character for him to do so here against an opponent that probably won't kill him. That being said, the idea of Megami summoning that to fight Todo just because his ass beat fucking finds me to no end. The pettiness that would be required to pull some shit like that is legendary. Like,
Nah, I'm not going out like this. He just grabbed my fucking face with his nasty ass hand. He gotta die for that. We gotta die for that.
that type of mentality will never not be hilarious and real as fuck to me. Megami was about to put a switch on his curse technique, and that is some of the funniest shit I think I will ever see in an otherwise serious encounter within this story. Now, this next fight is not really all that funny within the context of the greater story. Unlike aforementioned battles that I've talked about, the comedy that comes from this fight almost completely comes from the Jujutsu Kaisen community, taking a key section of this moment and turning it into a meme. If you are super familiar with both the series and the JJK community, you may be familiar with how often the fight back audio is played over Mahito getting jumped by Yuji and Nanami, and you might be familiar with just how hilarious that can be when used in the right context. As everyone who's watched JJK knows, Yuji and Nanami are pit against Mahito at the halfway point of the first season, and a majority of their time spent together in this fight focuses on them beating the shit out of Mahito together. In context, this is a huge fight for Yuji and Nanami individually. For Yuji, this is a personal grudge match to kill the cursed spirit who poisoned the mind of Junpei and killed him. For Nanami, this is probably the only time he'll be strong enough to take on this quickly evolving high-level special grade. These two factors make the stakes of this fight super high and make this encounter anything but funny in context. Devoid of that context, though, I think this fight is absolutely hilarious. Seeing Mahito get utterly obliterated by the tag teaming of Yuji and Nanami, watching his face distort, his eyes roll back, and literally him become aware that he's going to die because of how badly he's getting whooped is really fun to watch, especially because Mahito was just a horrible cursed spirit who almost everyone loves to see get pummeled. This already humorous circumstance, combined with it being used as a reaction video on places like Twitter whenever someone is getting jumped, is just funny to me, and it subconsciously makes me associate that memification of the fight with the actual happenings of the fight itself. Honestly, I think one of the biggest things that contributes to this fight, along with the other fights listed in this video being so funny to me, is the fact that I think someone getting pummeled like this, especially when it's for a dumb reason or acts as a subversion of expectations. It's just funny. There's no end to the hilarity that I can find in these types of moments. Now, I want you guys to let me know which of these fights you find to be the funniest down in the comment section below, and if you did enjoy the video, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell if you want to see a follow-up. I only talked about the fights that happened within the first season material, so if y'all did enjoy this video, I'll hit y'all with a part 2 with some of the funniest fights in the JJK manga. I hope you all enjoyed this video, and I'll see you in the next one.